Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife. And ever since doing a deep dive into C.S. Lewis's Four Loves last year, it's just gotten me thinking a lot about how we express love, recognizing when someone is showing us love and appreciation, and just kindness in general in our society, because I feel like that is something that can be improved on in general. I mean, I can always learn something new. So I wanted to share, especially seeing as it's February with Valentine's, something I encountered recently that helped me out a lot. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. So, like I said, it just got me thinking in general about four different loves and that. And just as a recap, in case you don't remember from last year, this C.S. Lewis Four Different Loves, he talks about there is like the parent, sibling, or storge, like it's the like and then there's philia, which is friendship. Um, And then there is romantic love, and then there's like Christ-like love, which some people would call charity. But anyway, so there's different types of love. But not only are there different types of love, when he gets into like the philia, the family, the like the parent-child love is sometimes, in one of the examples he gives, is the parents doing all of this stuff for the kid, and the kid's like, I don't feel like you love me. And it's because that's not what the kid wanted or needed. And so there's not a communication and going on about meeting needs and stuff. And so that because I'm a mom of four. I've got four kids. And it just got me thinking, how can I better help my kids understand I love them? And recently our congregation, the women's group for our congregation got together and had an activity, and it was the five love languages. And all of us took the test for the five love languages, and we talked about our different answers and why we picked what we wanted, and in little groups and everything. And then that way it helped us understand, okay, this person really loves, more accurately, they recognize love in this way. And to kind of go back for a second, the five love languages, if you are not familiar with it, is based off of a book written by Gary Chapman. It's been around for a while, and it breaks it down into five categories, the way that we show and recognize love. And I've talked about his other books in the past of When Sorry's Not Enough. Love that one, but we're going to go back to the five love languages. So, according to his book, and this is pretty accurate in my opinion, it works. Words of affirmation. So compliments such as, you look nice today, that's a great job, I'm proud of you, those sorts of things. Words of affirmation, saying kind things. That is one of the love languages. The next one is acts of service. So doing something for someone, helping them out when they need it. The next one is gifts. Now that doesn't always have to be going out and buying them something. That can be something like making them something, writing them a note, drawing a picture. I know there are people who love those things. They just like being given something. And then quality time is another one, and that is doing something one-on-one, eye contact, board games, just really connecting. And then the next is physical touch. And so this can be hugs, an arm around the shoulder, high five, all that sort of stuff. And typically when people talk about the five love languages, it's in regards to a interpersonal relationship, a romantic relationship. And that is largely, even though I know better and I should have, thought about it a little bit more, not the only way you can analyze this. So, the five love languages are typically applied to romantic relationships, but you can apply them to friendships, you can apply them to familial relationships, work relationships. Understanding how someone recognizes love and shows love is important. And that is a key. people don't always recognize love the same way they show love because they may have been taught and to show love a certain way, but they recognize love another way. So taking the quiz is really helpful. It's a great baseline. And there is more if you're having interpersonal relationship issues, a lot of other resources that delve in further into this. But as a great starting point, this helps. So, as a result, we were talking about this in regards to building friendships because I'm a military spouse, and a lot of you guys who listen are military spouses. But if you aren't, we've all just been through a hard shebang with COVID, and that put a lot of stress and strain on relationships. We're trying to rebuild the sense of community in our neighborhoods and our congregations. And so, understanding how your neighbor expresses love and feels loved and like recognizes love is important if you're wanting to build a relationship with that person. And it's not just straight cut and dry. One person only recognizes it one way. When you go in ahead and you take the test, you'll realize that most people are a combination. There's ways that are really strong. That's a really good indicator of showing love for them. And there's ones that are okay. They get it, but it's not their go-to. And then there's their lowest. Usually there's a lowest one. There's one that they just don't. Yeah, register. And that's fine. Everyone's different. It's all good. That's okay. And as we were talking about this, it really helped to be able to like, oh, okay, you prefer physical touch. So if you're having a hard day, you want a hug. When I come up and say hi, it's okay if I give you a hug. There's other people that they personal space is a thing and they do not want to be hugged. And so for them, it's just saying hello is maybe what they want, or asking how they're doing, giving gifts. I know my mother-in-law loves giving gifts and she likes getting things, and I'm not a huge gift giver. That's just not my love language, but because I know that about my mother-in-law, I try to be very thoughtful about the gifts that I give her so that it's meaningful to me and her as well. And that has really helped our relationship grow and improve over the years. And I know for different people, it's going to be different things. And for me, genuinely, like acts of service, quality time, I really just, time is important to me. And so when I know someone's spending their time on me, I really appreciate and value that. Anyway, we were talking about this and discussing it. And so to realize that some people, it's acts of service. They just want help. They want people to recognize what they're working on. And maybe it's just someone asking, hey, how are you doing? How is it going with kids? How is job? And taking time to have a conversation with them. Maybe it's going out and having a girls' night and getting ice cream and just talking. It's that quality time. For other people, it's acts of service. There's a young mom I know who loves it. Like it's been really helpful every now and then. I don't always have a lot of extra time to get over there and help her out like I'd like to, but I have been able to like drop off a load of banana loaf of banana bread or whatnot. And then the other thing we started talking about is as you're developing relationships. So you have primary and secondary love languages almost. So maybe your primary love language is service, but you don't feel comfortable having someone come in and help you clean your house if you don't know them. So your secondary love language is quality time or words of affirmation. As you're building a relationship with someone like that who has that primary and secondary love language, you might want to start off with words of affirmation and quality time, and then once you've built that relationship, then you can move on to acts of service because not everyone's comfortable with acts of service right away. Some people are, some people aren't. And so it's really just under what circumstances. And so it was really great to have that huge conversation and really be able to talk and get to know all of these other women in my congregation on that level so that I know how to better show them that I love them and help them out if they need it and whatnot. So that just got me so excited and amped up. I was talking to my husband about that. And as I was talking to my husband about it, a light went off in my head. Um, I have 4 little people in my home. I'm a mother of 4. I've got 4 kids. What are their love languages? And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't know. I didn't know what my kids' love languages were. And, because kids are kids, and there's times they're like, "You don't love me." And I'm like, "Of course I love you, blah, 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 blah." And then I had a flashback to the book that C.S. Lewis wrote that, you know what? The relationship with parent and child, that type of love, if I'm expressing love with one love language and their love language is a different, completely different love language, that's not going to do any good. They're not going to recognize that I'm trying to show that I love them. And so my husband and I started talking about it, and I looked it up and I found a really great, and I'm going to post the link in the description for all of you guys. I found a really great version of the kids love languages test and the teens love languages test for you to do with your families. And that way you can, find out what your kids' love languages are. And so we do this thing called family night. And typically we try to do it on Monday nights. Sometimes it's Sunday nights, but basically where we get together and do something together, like as a family. And so last week or a week or so ago, a while ago, not too long ago, but we sat down and did the love languages together. And my 2 older kids were pretty much able to read, understand, and come up with answers on their own. And my second to youngest, because you all know that baby cuteness did not take it. Baby cuteness is communication level is gaga right now, and that's just not going to be very informative. So we're just going to give baby cuteness lots of love and attention. And when baby cuteness can start talking, we'll do it with her. But until then, my second to youngest needed a little bit more assistance. So we had to explain the context of the questions. And each question it gives you is a which would you prefer? And then it gives you 2 scenarios or 2 things. And for kids, it's a little bit more straightforward. And for teenagers, it's a little bit more involved. And it's um, again, it's good that they have these ones because that's very different than a romantic relationship. Your response on how you want to receive love from someone in a romantic relationship. I don't know why my voice cut out right there. Sorry, but the way you show and receive love in a romantic relationship is going to be different than the way you show and receive love in a familial relationship, like between siblings or parent-child, whatnot. That said, it can also vary with friend groups too. So just be aware of that. And they have since written Gary Chapman and with someone else co-authored a book, 5 Love Languages for Children. And I have not read that yet. It is on my reading. I will get to that. But I wanted to make you aware of that if that's something you wanted to look into. But overall, it's made a huge difference because I realized I was showing love to my children the way I recognize love, acts of service and quality time. Come to find out, only one of my kids recognizes love that way. So, good thing we figured this out. And now that I know the way that my children recognize love, I can adapt the way I'm handling things. And the other great thing I loved in the survey test quiz thingy we took with our kids, it breaks down for parents certain things to avoid if your child, recognizes love in one way versus the other. and different things to emphasize and whatnot. So it has a breakdown sheet and it says the actions you can take. So if words of affirmation is their thing, writing a card or a letter to them, notes of encouragement, that sort of thing, can really help. With the communication, make sure that you're, uplifting. If you have to make corrections, that you do it with kindness and that you avoid emotionally harsh words and excessive criticism. So correction is always necessary with a kid, but make sure that you recognize what they're trying to accomplish and then explain the correction that is necessary. And if you hear in the background, baby Cuteness woke up from her nap and is having all sorts of fun. So that's where we're at right now today. I have a coworker again. But to the other ones, it talks for quality time, run errands together so that you're having conversations in the car and have conversations in the car. um Doing something together, painting nails if you've got a little girl, go for walks, play board games. I love playing board games with my kids. We've had some really great ones. And maybe that's something I can do. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do some of my favorite games for families. I can do that. I love playing board games. um but just make sure that it's a place with no interruptions where you're giving them attention and you can have one-on-one conversation. Um, Also, the things to avoid with that is just that they're not doing too much outside of the home and or that they're all by themselves and isolated. Like they're not having too much screen time on the phone by themselves watching social media, whatever. Gift giving gifts that show time or remember a special occasion or have thought in them. That's the way you can make it a very meaningful way of doing it. And maybe doing it one on one instead of a big show. And then making sure it's not focused on materialism. It's not on the expense of the gift, but it's on the thought of the gift. And so teaching them how to value and recognize that thought and caring that is put into the gift. Acts of service, helping them with their chores and helping them with projects that they have that they're involved in. So saying, what can I do for you? How can I help? What do you need? Those sorts of things. Making things for them sometimes will be for one of my kids, I had a thought to make them something that they had been mentioning that they needed, but they didn't have time to get around to. And I had a little bit of extra time, so I made it for them. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't have anything to do with school. It just was something that they had been wanting to and didn't get to. Forgetting promises is a huge thing you want to avoid with that because it really will damage the relationship. And overcommitting is not good because then you're unlikely to be able to meet all of the things. Don't make them a promise you can't keep, is what it comes down to. Physical touch, hugs, arm around the shoulder, sitting next to each other, high five. She's really excited. You like that? We're teaching her how to high five. And she hasn't figured it out yet, but baby Cuteness is going to get there. High fives are going to be her thing. I just know it. Anyway, but yeah, basically nonverbal communications, giving them a smile, things like that. But corporal punishment is going to be a huge damage to a relationship for someone who, like for a parent-child relationship where a kid is love language is physical touch. So with them, it's going to be talking it out, explaining it, finding another way. Consequences. I believe that you should have logical consequences that are associated with the thing that they did. So, and neglect, but neglect is going to be bad for all of it. Neglect is just bad in general. So, those are some of the things that I wanted to touch on in regards to 5 love languages and especially in regards to kids. I'm going to link below the resource that we used with our kids for you guys to maybe do this with your family. It would be a great family Valentine's Day activity, finding out what everyone's love languages are. And that way you can better express your love as a family, or even just, hey, do it with your friends. If you're going to have a Galentine's Day, you do the love languages quiz as a group of gals, whatever. And I'll also have the link for the book for the kids and the 5 love languages for children in the description below. But yeah, it's pretty fantastic. It's helping us as a family, and I hope it helps you as well. There's a lot of stuff coming up. I have been reading lots of research studies, and I've got a wonderful congressional bill to read for you guys. To break down and help out, get you guys information that I believe will be beneficial for you and your families going forward. So lots of stuff working on this month, but it's February. Hopefully we express the love we have for those around us all year long, but if not, let's take the opportunity now. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all the good you do in the world, and let's just be the good we want to see in the world. With that, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife.